So, have you ever walked away from a conversation or, a full-blown argument feeling completely exhausted, confused, and just defeated? But the weird thing is you couldn't pinpoint exactly why. You started out so sure of your point, but by the end of it, you were somehow the one apologizing, or at least questioning your own sanity. Well, if that sounds familiar, you are absolutely not alone. It's a super common experience when you're dealing with a very specific type of conversational dynamic. A dynamic where the goal isn't actually to find the truth, but to make you feel like you're the problem.
Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're opening up the arsenal of psychological manipulation, 4 tactics, and your defenses. We're going to dive into our source material to decode the hidden conversational weapons used against us every single day and build up your ultimate defenses.
Okay, let's get right into it. The source highlights that there are exactly 4 specific phrases that a toxic person will use to defeat you psychologically. It's not just a random string of insults, it's a highly targeted 4-part toolkit. And the scariest part? They use these phrases to beat you without you even realizing a game is being played. You think you're having a normal disagreement, right? But they are playing a completely different psychological game.
First, we kind of have to define our opponent here. According to the psychological principles in our source, a psychological manipulator is someone who actively tries to win arguments by steering completely away from logic. They literally do not care about the facts. Instead, they use psychological tricks designed specifically to shake your confidence and alter your very perception of reality. And listen, this isn't just about, supervillains in movies. As the source notes, this can be anyone. It could be a colleague at work, your spouse, a close friend, or even just some random person you're debating online. The tactics remain exactly the same across the board.
All right, let's look at the very first conversational weapon in their arsenal. It's a phrase I bet you've heard before. You are too sensitive. Man, just hearing that phrase probably makes you feel a little defensive, doesn't it? Well, that is exactly the point. When someone does something to hurt you and you bravely bring it up to them, this is their go-to first line of defense. They throw this phrase right at you to completely derail the conversation. So, let's break down the hidden mechanics of that exchange. Their unspoken goal here is shifting the blame. Instead of just apologizing for their hurtful behavior, they want to convince you that your quote-unquote oversensitivity is the actual problem. They're trying to minimize what they did by making it seem like your emotional reaction is the real issue. They want you to feel that their toxic behavior doesn't even matter. But here is your empowered response. The source material is crystal clear on us. You must remember your feelings deserve respect, period. So respond with absolute clarity. Say, my feelings are not a flaw, and I won't allow anyone to belittle them. Boom. You don't argue about whether you're sensitive or not. You just shut down the belittlement immediately without taking the bait. Let's move to the second phrase, and you'll see how this builds into a much more aggressive tactic. What you're saying didn't happen. Now, this is a whole new level of audacity. This is when the manipulator looks you dead in the eye with absolute, unwavering confidence and boldly denies reality. It is a classic, literal, textbook form of gaslighting. The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the trap that's being laid for you. Their hidden goal is to use that supreme fake confidence to make you doubt your own memory. And here is where so many of us fail, myself included sometimes. They want to drag you into a space where you start providing evidence. The source warns us strongly against this. If you start bringing out proof, if you start presenting arguments to prove you're telling the truth, they've already won. They've dragged you onto their playing field. Because suddenly the argument is no longer about the bad thing they did to you, it's a debate about your memory and your proof. So to win, stand firm in your empowered response. I trust my memory, and I don't need to prove to you that I'm right. You refuse to play the evidence game. You just stand firm in your reality.
Now we arrive at phrase number 3. Everyone agrees with me. Think about how incredibly powerful this phrase is for a second. It's just 4 words, but they carry the weight of an invisible crowd. The manipulator pulls this out when they really want to corner you.
Let's break down why this is so damaging. Their hidden goal is to create a profound sense of isolation. They want you to feel like you're standing completely alone on an island, that the whole world disagrees with you and stands on their side. It's a totally false consensus designed to break your resolve. And again, there's a trap here. If you start arguing about what these other people actually think, or try to prove that people actually agree with you instead, you've lost focus. To win, you've got to sidestep this side battle completely. Use your empowered response. Tell them, I don't need endorsement for my opinion. My opinion is enough for me. You show them that you absolutely do not care about what the supposed everyone else thinks. You refuse to explain or debate other people's words because your opinion is enough.
And that brings us to the 4th and final weapon in their arsenal. You are exaggerating. It sounds a little bit like that first phrase we talked about, but it actually serves a slightly different, deeply frustrating purpose. It's a smooth, subtle attempt to dismiss your very valid concerns as dramatic overreactions. The psychology of dismissal here is super fascinating. Their hidden goal is pure avoidance. The person talking to you is basically trying to force you to simply ignore your fears instead of actually addressing them. I mean, if they can convince you that you're making a mountain out of a molehill, then they don't have to deal with the mountain, right? But the source material reminds us of a hard truth. Ignoring an issue does not mean it's going to disappear. Your empowered response must be to confidently double down on your reality. You look them in the eye and say, the issue is important to me and I must talk about it. You flat out refuse to let them sweep your concerns under the rug.
Okay, so we've analyzed their specific attacks and how they twist reality. Now it's time for a proactive action plan. Let's talk about building your mental shield.
The source material gives us some highly practical steps for maintaining our grip on reality when dealing with a toxic individual. So let's walk through these 4 defense strategies together. Number 1, you must fundamentally trust your feelings and your memory. This is your absolute baseline. Number 2 is incredibly practical. If you're dealing with someone whose habit is to constantly doubt you, start recording facts in a notebook. Literally write down what happens, so when they try to twist reality, you have your own solid record to rely on. Number 3, set firm boundaries. If the person in front of you constantly belittles you, you have to establish strict limits on what you will and will not accept from them. And finally, number 4, talk to trusted outside friends. When you're stuck inside a manipulator's web, it gets incredibly confusing. An objective friend, someone completely outside the story, will see the situation clearly and help ground you back in the real world.
We've covered a lot of psychological ground today in this explainer. We've seen exactly how reality can be twisted and how we can stand firm to protect it. But I want to leave you with a thought to really reflect on. Have you faced these tactics, and how did you react? Think back to a time someone used one of these 4 phrases on you. Did you fall into the trap of bringing evidence or defending your sensitivity? Was there a reaction you had that you thought was ideal, or maybe a reaction you deeply regret? By reflecting on our own experiences and understanding these tactics, we stop being victims of conversational games and we start becoming masters of our own boundaries. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, your reality is yours. Don't let anyone rewrite it.